Here with Jeff, our license testing specialist. He's going to talk about some license testing tips and things that go on during the test. Questions I'm sure a lot of people have had. So, Jeff, on average, about how long should you expect your whole testing experience to last?
Okay, well, if you first take it at the DMV itself, after waiting in line and getting your number, once you go out with the agent, it should probably take about a half an hour from start to finish, but that does include a vehicle inspection, which you'd first have to pass at the DMV in order to test. With us, fortunately, we guarantee our cars to pass inspection, and that's taken care of first thing in the morning. So we actually are able to schedule them for 15 minutes, but sometimes, again, depending on the agent that we get testing that day, it may take 15 to 18 to 19 minutes.
Okay. And during that inspection, what kinds of things are they looking for on the vehicle?
They're checking to see if the tire pressure, if the tires look low. They're looking to see if any lights on the dashboard are on at all, including the airbag, including the tire pressure light also, including the check engine light. And of course, they then need to walk around the car to see if all the lights do work, including the brake lights, the rear lights, and the daytime running lights. Things that usually catch students off guard when they go to the DMV on their own car are things like tinted windows or certain dents. And of course, your registration and insurance have to be up to date as well.
That's a big one, the tinted windows. If they're too dark, you can't test.
Correct.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay. So on the test, what kind of maneuvers are they going to ask you to do? Like when you take the test and you go out, where would you go?
Usually it's, again, with it being only a 15 to 20 minute test at most, there's not very far that you can go. Taking it at our locations, we rarely have ever heard of anyone going onto the highway for any of those reasons, but they do try to make you go to a street where they can see you change lanes, to where you will interact with plenty of intersections to see how things go with turning left, turning right, stopping in time for a red light, going when it's green, simple things like that. But then of course, like I said, stop signs are a big deal, and then some of the parking maneuvers would probably be asked to be on the test too, guaranteed.
Okay. What's the most common parking maneuver that's asked?
From what I understand, it's typically a right back in that's asked of you. We've heard it all though, from parallel parking to left back ins. It's just the vast majority of what I hear, especially at least from students that take the test at our locations, it's a right back in.
Okay.
And again, that could be actually even in the beginning of the test, away from our location, or sometimes, most of the time, the very last thing asked of a student on a test as well.
Okay. And what's the most common reason that you've seen or heard of for somebody to fail their test?
No matter where the location is, it's usually the same thing, which is decision making at intersections. As I mentioned before, they'll have you turn left, turn right, and see how you deal with that. We've had students fail for stopping at a green light before. A lot of students say that that's, they were just being cautious, but it can actually be quite dangerous. And then even more so than that is turning left at an intersection. A lot of students have a green arrow possibly giving them the right of way to take that left-hand turn, but sometimes as they approach, they don't see it go away. There's obviously a delay when that green arrow goes away to where oncoming traffic then has the right of way. And again, from what everybody should have learned in class, blocking the box is when you creep out into the intersection, but stay there, waiting for a gap in oncoming traffic to make that left-hand turn. It's actually illegal to stop in the middle of the intersection, but if you see the gap coming, you can easily anticipate and enter, and as you roll to the middle of the intersection, as that gap hits, you'll be able to roll right into that left-hand turn and take it as safely as possible.
Okay, great. Do you have any tips or advice that you'd give to somebody who's has a test coming up, or is just researching, they have the permit now and they want to get their test in the future?
Yes. Well, actually, both us and the DMV are booking out pretty late. It's a very busy time of the year, so book your test as soon as possible. But no matter where you get that test, whether it's at the DMV or at one of our satellite locations, I would absolutely go there to practice, to drive around, again, just a few blocks, a few mile radius, go up and down main streets, get to know the speed limits. going too fast and going too slow is another reason a lot of students end up failing on the test. You have to keep it right around the speed limit to show the instructor that you see the speed limit signs and that you know what to do and that you're gauging this speedometer correctly. And then, of course, knowing the stop signs. A lot of places like Weathersfield DMV has a yield sign on either one of those ends of the road. And some students, again, I've actually just heard recently, stopping at a yield sign failed a student. There was no oncoming car whatsoever, and stopping at a yield sign may show that you don't quite understand what that means. So just getting an idea of the area, knowing those signs, knowing those speed limits, and everything else about that area would be probably the smartest thing to do.
Okay, good advice. All right, thanks for sitting with us and giving us some advice on testing and walking us through the whole process.
You got it, no
We
problem.
appreciate it. Anybody that needs some help on parking maneuvers or anything like that, we have them on our YouTube channel, which we will link to the video. And stay tuned, and we'll have more